What's going on, Southern Folks Saga? This is Von Wolf, and welcome to another edition of the sometimes weekly Wolf Bite. Again, these will, I plan on doing it like once a week and whatnot. Sometimes things just hit me, I don't want to talk about them, so put them out on there. Again, as you can tell, I am about that drive a long time life. Drive a long time. So, yep, those were bumps. So you're going to hear that background noise probably almost all the time. All right, today's podcast is going to be about names or titles and, how they're given to us and what we maybe should do with that. But before we get into that, go ahead and drop some news on y'all. I'm sure that by now, anyone or everyone who would listen to this podcast would know about what's going on in South Africa. And if you don't, I'll go ahead and fill you in a little bit as far as what I know, at least. Okay, so South Africa, of course, Africa. We all think that it's Africans there. Well, South Africa specifically is filled with the European peoples. You might say, what do you mean European peoples? I mean people of European descent. That would look like myself, or Gunnar, or, anybody of European descent. It's really not that hard to figure out. And no, there's nothing racist about that. It's just our people, right? Then you might say, well, what are European peoples doing in South Africa? Well, as you know, we've always been a people of, exploration. I like to go places, see things, do things, conquer things, whatever it might be. So I'm pretty much just guessing here, but that's why we have European peoples in South Africa. The next question is, what's going on over there? Well, a lot. A whole lot. Being that they are, really, really, really a minority there, I suppose things have taken a turn for the worst. And the native peoples of that land have lost their shit. So the European peoples in South Africa are taking a hell of a beating, right? And again, this is just my understanding. I haven't gone and seen it myself, but these are the things that I understand. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please send me a message to let me know if I'm wrong, so that way I can correct myself. And also, I'd like to advise anyone, if you, again, don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. I guess Google it. Google it or YouTube or whatever. The information is out there as far as more details. And, normally I don't like to get into things that I can't control myself in my own life. But this is one of those things, if we could help, if we could do something, would we? That's the big question. And I'd like to think that anyone who listens to this would say yes. Because that's the number one thing I love about this community, so to speak, is that, we can be at each other 24/7, 365, at each other's throats. But when it comes down to, helping out someone or some group or whatever it might be, folks jump in. They try to make a difference. And that's what really just makes me so proud of this community that I'm a part of, whether it be local or worldwide. So the next question would be, how can I help? Well, I've thought about this for a while, and it just came to my attention recently that the AFA the AFA, yeah, whatever, hate on them if you want to, they really don't give a shit, I promise you. But the AFA has set up something to help these folks out. So if you choose to do something, just take a step forward and make donations, you can go to us, the True Folk Assembly's website. That's www.runestone.org. It's RUNESTONE.org, and make a donation. You just mark it as South Africa. That way they know exactly where that donation needs to go. Alright, and second in my news here, I have done an interview with someone And you either hate it or love it. All right, so the person I did an interview with is Brian Wilton. And y'all have to excuse me on the interview quality, because what I'm running with right now is a free program used to record the interview, and it's not very high quality, but it's what I got for the moment, so it's what I'm working with. Also, you'll notice that I haven't done an interview in quite a while, so I learned a couple of things about the interviewing process while I was doing that. So hopefully I'll get that up here by this coming Friday, if not early next week. I thought I'd have a lot more time to make the edits than I have, and that, like I said, it hadn't really been the case. So it's been a little bit of a process for me to try to get this done. I will tell you now, viewer discretion is advised. It will be not safe for work. All right, so moving into the topic of the podcast, names and titles and what we should do with them, or how we gain them, really. That's also important. So, as most of you know, if you listen to the very first podcast that I put up, Von Wolf is not my real name. And I think it's kind of humorous, because I was messaging someone once. I was like, hey, it's Von Wolf, I'm doing this and that. Oh, no, not another wolf, man. But, it is funny. But there's a way that I gained that name. In fact, it came really from the protection that I have over my daughter, which is, a good thing and a bad thing at times. It started off where I was holding my daughter. She was an infant, and I didn't get a chance to really spend a lot of time around my daughter. Her mother and I had parted ways not long after she was born, and my family's a very loving family, very touchy-feely hugs and kisses and all that good stuff. One day I'm at my grandmother's house, and my daughter's mother brings her over, for me to see, and for the rest of the family, spend a little time with my daughter. May I also point out, I'm one of the only men left alive on my mother's side of the family, and that's the closer side of the family that I, have come to know and spend most of my life with. So I'm there with my daughter, and I'm holding her. I'm holding this little ball of attitude and shit. That's all she did was shit all the time. But I'm holding her, and I'm just looking at her, and I'm thinking, wow, this is a part of me. I can see myself in her. And it's funny, because more and more every single day as she gets older, I literally see my genetic traits in her, and as far as her attitude and her mannerisms. It's crazy. But I'm holding her, and of course every woman in the family wants to hold that baby. And mind you, again, I rarely got to see my child at all during that time frame. So they're all over there. Let me hold her. Let me hold her. Let me hold her. I want to touch her. Let me kiss her. And I don't know why, but my natural instinct, I guess as a father or as a parent, was to, I wasn't overly upset, but I was very, very, very protective. And I don't know of a way to put this where it doesn't sound kind of funny, but I ended up looking more or less like a wolf. My body tensed up. I almost made that wolf, growl face where it's showing the teeth and everything. And really, it was displayed much like a wolf. So I kind of gained that name, the wolf. And of course, it kind of spread throughout the years. Different friends who had been around me when I was around my child would kind of get that feeling as well. So it kind of stuck in some senses. And looking back at it, that there really is two sides to everyone. You have your good side, your bad side, or whatever that might look like. So now, looking back again, it's kind of funny when people are like, oh, wolf, huh? Okay. It's not something that I particularly chose for myself, but it was given to me. And with any title or name whatever that's given to you, you then have somewhat of a responsibility to, stay true to that name or stay true to what that name means. And I'm not going to say that Wolf is my bad side, but it's definitely my most primal fire. It's the depths of who I am when it comes to my family and my reaction towards things against my family or things that I feel that are threatening or whatever. So, I definitely, no matter whether I like it or not, it's something that I am in a sense. And as another example, my daughter's getting ready to be 5, and my wife and I have been together since my daughter was roughly 3 months old. And so, she's been in my daughter's life since, again, she was 3 months old. But what's really funny is that my daughter doesn't call her by her name. She doesn't call her stepmother or mother or something. She calls her Annie. And it's always been Annie. And nobody's really quite sure why. My daughter gave her that name as soon as she started talking. And she knows my wife's real name. That's not an issue at all. She can spell it, she can, write it, whatever. She knows everyone's real name, but she calls, my wife Annie. And as even younger, she would say, this is my daddy, this is my mommy, this is my Annie. So she has given my wife a name, and she, displays it as, this is my Annie. And it really threw me off for the longest time. I was like, what does that mean? But it doesn't have to mean anything to anyone, generally, but it's that personal meaning that she gives to my wife. And again, I still think it's kind of strange. But, to my daughter, that's something special. And even to this day, if I want to get my wife's attention, truly get her attention, I'll call her Annie. And she stops. Oh, takes a deep breath. Yes. She knows that there is weight to that title. There is something to that title. And in that same essence, it's like when a child does call us, mommy, mom, or daddy, or dad, that's not something we start off calling ourselves, right? We didn't walk around before we had children like, yeah, I'm daddy. I'm dad. It's not right. But you're given that title, for a specific reason, and you have specific responsibilities and, attachments to that title. Now let's look at, last week's podcast when we talked about tribe. Again, in any personal family, you're either a son, a father, a brother, a husband, a mother, a daughter, a sister, whatever that might be. But you have that title and you have that responsibility that comes with that title to your family. Now you jump into tribe. A tribe's leadership, so to speak, they're going to have titles as well. You might have whatever the leadership, the leader title is, and it varies from group to group or organization to organization. But you might have a, I don't even know where to start because there's so many. But if you'd like a better example of that, you can definitely look up different terms for it. But basically, the chieftain or whatever, or Ural, however you want to view that. Then you have Gothi or Gotha or whoever wants to pronounce it any special way, it doesn't matter. But you have all these different positions with these titles and have their own responsibilities. And again, much like a workplace, you might have a general manager, you might have supervisors, you might have shift managers or shift supervisors. You might have, let's say grocery store stockers or cashiers. That title is given to you, you've accepted it, and you have responsibilities. And when a title is given to you, then it's almost like an unspoken oath, so to speak, because, as a parent or as a father, I didn't, do some sort of blood oath to become a father or whatnot, but, my daughter was born, and now I have an oath to do what I can to make sure that my daughter is healthy, happy for the most part, what I can control, that she grows up with a good, strong mind and good morals and all this other good stuff. That's my thing, and people don't take those titles so seriously anymore. And as another example, we could look at marriage, right? Doesn't matter how you're married. People talk about, the pagans and the Vikings were not, blah, 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 blah. They could cheat on each other. Yeah, sure. Anybody can cheat on each other. But when you get married, even in today's culture especially, but, you're literally taking an oath when you get married. You're taking an oath to each other. And it's made public. And you sign on it. What better example of an oath, And don't get me wrong, nobody's perfect. We will fuck up. That's a part of life. We learn things from messing up. But again, these titles that we're given or that we take on, that there are things we have to do with them. And I see far too many people today who are given titles or that make up their own titles, and they just kind of fuck it, just whatever. And don't get me wrong, I've been there as well. I've definitely been there as well, especially when it's something like like being a parent. You don't really know exactly what there's not a book for it that makes you a perfect parent. And if you're a leader or in a leadership role somewhere, there's not really a book for it that makes you perfect at what you're doing, because there are so many situations that can arise that you're just not prepared for. But really, what I want people to take from this is, are you given a title, or have you been given a title, and are you up to those standards? Are you following that? Does it mean something to you? We know by our lore that each tribe or whatnot, back at the Gap, quote unquote, they had positions and titles and responsibilities and duties. So this should be nothing new to us. But again, I look around the world and it seems like nobody understands it. I'm not going to say nobody. Excuse me. It seems like there are a large quantity of people out there who don't seem to understand that when you have a responsibility, you instantly have a title, and then you have an obligation you have to take seriously. And with all this being said, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. But anyway, I just got this feeling to put it out there, so I wanted to record it and get it out there. Again, Brian Wilton interview coming up soon, hopefully by Friday or this weekend or early next week. I just want to be able to cut out some of my coughs and ums and whatever else and get it out there where it's not too trashy. But he really did a good interview, and I was kind of surprised about some of the things. He talks about one little thing, and you'll listen to it. I don't want to ruin it, but it kind of made my eyebrows raise up, instantly, like, say more, tell me more. But he just teased me. So, all right, folks, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Again, if you're hearing this for the first time, you don't know anything about Southern Folk Saga, swing by our Facebook page, give us a like, give us a share. We are going to try to start putting some of this stuff on SoundCloud as well. I think we have 3 things up there currently. That's the interview with Stephen McNallen, my first weekly wolf bite, and an interview with Edward Thorson. Again, you can check that out on SoundCloud, just looking up Southern Folk Saga. I'll also leave a link in the description for the Asju Folks Assembly's post about South Africa. So that way you can view that for yourself, and you can look into it and do what you gotta do. All right, folks. Again, always remember, never be influenced, but always, 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 listen to me. Always be inspired. All right, thanks.